Greg, are you going to give us any comments on The Rock's asinine appearance on the Pat McAfee show? Yes, I will. What's up, guys? Sorry, I have not commented on this before now. It's currently Thursday night. I'm going to record this, drop it on Friday morning for you guys. And I saw The Rock's appearance on Pat McAfee, but after WrestleMania, after that long weekend, I just needed a couple days off from pro wrestling. I just kind of completely detached. I was on Twitter a little bit, but in terms of really paying attention, I just kind of shut off wrestling for a couple of days to kind of recharge my brain. I haven't even watched Dynamite yet, but it was really hard to ignore The Rock's appearance on Pat McAfee on Tuesday. And as if the high-ranking executives in WWE didn't make big enough asses of themselves all throughout WrestleMania week's media promotion, then Rock just put a nice little cherry on top of all of it on Tuesday on Pat McAfee's show when he just rambled on for what had to have been 45 minutes about absolutely nothing. It was hilarious watching the chat on the Pat McAfee show, people telling Rock to shut up and start talking about sports already. And we had to hear The Rock basically explain why he was not at WrestleMania. Now, of course, we've all dissected his comments by now. I'm going to read you through some of them. Everybody has pretty much had the same reaction. That's why I didn't rush up here to post a video, because what am I going to say that anybody else hasn't said? But one thing that I've noticed a bunch is that it seems to be anger and being loud first. Everybody wants to yell, everybody wants to scream at him and that type of stuff. And I get it. It is very infuriating when you listen to what The Rock said. You're like, what the fuck is going on here? I understand totally. But to me, I was reading between the lines a little bit more than that. Based on what The Rock was saying, I was trying to pick out, believe it or not, I was trying to pick out some of the good that we can take from this. And I think one of the biggest takeaways from this is that Paul Levesque, Triple H, is in charge, not The Rock. Because the way he framed everything here basically sounded like he got outvoted. His idea got outvoted. So he got boo-boo face and just decided if I can't have it my way, then I don't want to be involved. And I find that funny and infuriating at the same time, but also kind of relieving that The Rock doesn't have full control, doesn't have the WWE by their balls to where whatever he says goes, and he's such a draw, such a moneymaker that whatever he wants to do, the WWE is going to acquiesce to any of his requests. I was worried that that was going to be the case with The Rock, and we saw a little bit of evidence of that last year at WrestleMania 40 when it seemed clear that he wanted to face his cousin and he wanted to win. And WWE is like, And they changed it, and The Rock's involvement made the build to last year's WrestleMania very convoluted and very confusing and a little bit scary there until we got to the end and they had a well-executed show. This year is way different. We all saw the ending of WrestleMania 41. The match between John Cena and Cody Rhodes. The match itself wasn't good, and the ending was terribly stupid, especially the fact that they had Travis Scott coming out there and not The Rock. I think nobody should have came out there. Travis Scott coming down playing that stupid WrestleMania song, Fiend, over and over and over, 175,000 times for him to get to the ring. I was fine with that. I'm like, okay, I will listen to the stupid song one more time if it means The Rock is coming out behind him. Because when was the last time we saw Travis Scott alongside The Rock with John Cena when he turned heel and beat up Cody Rhodes? So why in the blue fucking hell would Travis Scott come out there and not The Rock? And that's what The Rock tried to explain on Pat McAfee. These were all things we were saying during the review, said them on Monday night, a lot of just reiterating the same thoughts that it made no sense for The Rock to not be there. I didn't need The Rock at all. I don't need The Rock to be a happy wrestling fan. I didn't need The Rock around any of this WrestleMania shit at all. But he's right there front and center in John Cena's heel turn. Why is it so crazy to think that the WWE fans would assume that he's going to be there in the main event as well? So not only leading up to WrestleMania did you have Triple H being butthurt about being criticized. The fans should just shut up and watch the show and enjoy the show. This guy's making millions and millions of dollars, tens of $1 million in the bank in WWE stock. His himself, his wife, his daughters are never going to want for anything. If you are lucky enough to have that kind of financial security and you've got a job this big, guess what, Tara Rison? You got to be able to handle some criticism. I understand you've got a rabid fan base out there that are frothing at the mouth that just want to be angry. There is definitely a portion of the audience that are like that, and you need to ignore them. But we are fans. We are paying customers. We have every fucking right in the world to criticize anything we want. Now, when it comes to the bad faith haters who just sputter out random hate nonsense, those people, we don't count them. I'm talking about fans without chemical imbalance, might have a little bit of education to them, and can criticize anything that they want because they love pro wrestling in all forms. And for fans to be disappointed that we didn't see The Rock, we are not wrong for that. Because the way WWE laid this whole thing out and John Cena's heel turn, The Rock should have been there. So he appeared on Tuesday on the Pat McAfee show to explain why he wasn't there. And it just got weirder. Like I said, Triple H with his comments about the fans and criticisms, and then Nick Khan having the balls to say WWE is an underdog. Are you fucking kidding me? And then he threw shade at AEW, talking about how they benched people and how WWE doesn't do that. The fuck you don't. Both companies actually do it. AEW and WWE have both had instances where they have sat perfectly healthy, good professional wrestlers in the back to do nothing for months, and in some cases years, not giving them releases or whatever. I think both companies should stop that, not just one. And then on top of that, you got John Cena telling everybody how much he still loves Vince McMahon no matter what he did. The only person that didn't say anything stupid all week was Cody. So all of these top-tier personalities and executives in WWE sounded like complete assholes all week long. Then you deliver a very underwhelming, very disappointing main event that left a lot of our heads being scratched, wondering what the hell was the point of involving The Rock if he's not going to be there. Because that's my thing. I didn't need him to be a part of any of this. If you're just going to turn John Cena heel and he's going to cheat to beat Cody and you're going to take that storyline into the rest of the year, great. What the fuck do we need Dwayne for? Well, apparently, because Ari Emanuel called him up and said, hey, tickets are slow for Elimination Chamber, let's have you come in. So I'm going to read you a little bit of what The Rock said on Pat McAfee. I know that a lot of this is going to be regurgitated because you've heard it several times. I'm not going to read you everything, just some of the key points here and some of the interesting things that Rock said. Now, when it came to Elimination Chamber and his involvement there, here's what he said. I got a call about a month before Elimination Chamber. I get a call from Ari Emanuel, who owns TKO. He said, we need help at Elimination Chamber. Ticket sales are a little slow, but beyond that, we are fine. What we are finding is it's become the pay-per-view that is interesting. I don't even know what that means. Fans have had fun, but it's also the conduit to WrestleMania. How do we create an Elimination Chamber that people must tune into to see? How do we create that? Right now, we don't have that. Will the final boss show up? And I said, let me give it some thought and get back to you. And apparently when he was giving it some thought, this is when he came up with the Cody should sell his soul idea. He goes on to say, I gave it some thought and got back to Ari, Triple H, and Nick, and we had a call. I said, I have an idea. The most important thing to the final boss isn't money, titles, fame. Been there, done that, and grateful for that. The final boss wants your soul. What does that mean? That doesn't mean the final boss wants you to act like this or be like this at his beck and call or treat you like crap or make you do all these things that are unbecoming or embarrassing. That's not how the final boss flies. What that means is whatever dreams Cody Rhodes has, whatever ambitions, even if they're dark, amazing, full of light, scary, whatever they are, you tell the final boss and he makes it all happen. When it comes to giving the final boss your soul, that is what you want, not what the final boss wants. What does the final boss get out of that? Your soul for life. Now we go into Elimination Chamber with this idea of, will Cody Rhodes sell his soul to the final boss? My thought at the time was it was a litmus test. Rock loves to say litmus test. What is with you in that term? It was a litmus test to find out how fans would respond if Cody sold his soul to the final boss. Let's get a temperature check on this. Establish it, anchor it in, and you come to find out that there are a lot of fans saying, sell your soul. I was an advocate of that. Not turning heel heel soon, but eventually down the line. I like the idea of that because Cody is a smart and intelligent guy, a ring general, and this idea that you give him a reason to turn way down the road, you give him a reason to turn not based on titles, but it's his soul and what that means that affects generations. It's transcendent beyond pro wrestling. Fans were loving it. He finishes by saying, as we got closer to Elimination Chamber, we were kicking ideas around. Myself, Triple H, Nick, my team. Triple H said, what about John turning? And I said, I love it. The next question is talking to John and see how he feels about it. John loved the idea of turning heel, but he said there is an anchor that he was going to root it in, which was a real thing he's experienced over the past 25 years. So I don't even know what the hell The Rock is even talking about here. He kind of alludes to the fact that he pitched Cody Rhodes selling his soul, but then in the same paragraph says that the plan wasn't to turn right now, but somewhere down the line. So when I read all of this, especially what he says later about wanting to finesse the finish a little bit more, it sounds like he's throwing people like Triple H under the bus, taking no responsibility for this at all. And it sounds like he had this idea that got outvoted. Sounds like he wanted to turn Cody heel, and Triple H and Nick and Cody in so many words said, Dwayne, that is fucking stupid. So then Dwayne's like, well, we put our pencils down. We heard this last year. I would love to see how Cody Rhodes handles a heel turn in the future. I'm all about that. But doing it right now, doing it this WrestleMania, sorry, too early. Now, the fans during WrestleMania week gave us a little bit of a glimpse, because of the boobs, what a future heel turn from Cody might look like. And I think Cody would do great at it. But I would not be doing it right now either. So in a lot of ways, I'm happy that The Rock sounded like such an idiot here, because what that tells me is that he is not in full control. What that tells me is he cannot walk in to WWE backstage and said, whatever you're doing creatively, throw it away. Here's what we're doing now. No, Triple H has the pencil. Triple H has the book. Triple H likely is the final say in most of these situations, especially creatively. So The Rock saying that Ari Emanuel wanted him to come to Elimination Chamber to help ticket sales. We speculated on that very thing the night of Elimination Chamber and both nights of WrestleMania, WrestleMania Night 2 and then the Raw review on Monday. We said that the only explanation for The Rock being at the Elimination Chamber was tickets, because it was in the Sky Dome. It was a stadium show. Tickets were a little lighter, and we made that mention that, maybe he was just there for ticket sales. But then once he got in the middle of John Cena's heel turn, and he was a part of that, then you assume he's going to be a part of that going into WrestleMania. So it sounds like The Rock didn't get his way, so he said, I'm just going to step back. And that's what I'm going to get to in a minute. Listen to this shit. He says, when we were moving forward with John and this idea that we would crown him at 17 and being a heel champion, I knew then the best thing for the final boss, we've established this idea of Cody's soul, we can always come back to it. I did feel, and I made the call, I don't want to be involved in that. Let the final boss step back into the shadows. Let the spotlight go to John Cena and Cody, again, which I have no problem with. Let's not make it about Cody's soul or John's soul. Let's let them do what they do. I called John after Elimination Chamber, called Cody, and I said, I think the final boss's work is done. Oh, really? Is that what you think? It doesn't matter. Never mind. We've established it. We just pulled off the greatest angle in the history of professional wrestling other than Hogan turning heel. We have 6 weeks. Now let's build. You guys go and crush it. I'll be right there with you, and I'm always here if you need me. Dude, we need you, but I think it's best for the final boss not to be involved in that finish. I have no problem with the final boss not being involved in the finish. I have a problem with you guys making us think that. That's the big issue here with The Rock and with WWE, that they are not grasping. They are not understanding. It is not weird or abnormal for any wrestling fan, whether you've been watching for 4 weeks or 40 years like me, to watch that angle and say, shit, I cannot wait to see what's going to happen at WrestleMania. When Cody has a chance to get revenge on these fuckers, when The Rock is out there, when Travis Scott is out there, that is what a normal fan would expect. And we don't need, at least I don't need an overbooked circus in every main event. We had that last year at WrestleMania 40, a lot of stuff going down. I'm not asking for just to be pulling people out of the woodwork and just throwing them out there, but The Rock was crucial to this heel turn. He was a part of it. He was the centerpiece of all of this. soul-selling crap, and ultimately Cena selling his soul to The Rock, and we thought that meant that Rock, the final boss, the board member, is going to be paving the way for John Cena for this easy run to the title, and he's going to come out there, Travis Scott will probably be out there, and it'll be this big, fun finish. Even if Cody loses, it'll probably be pretty good. That's the way I was going into this match thinking, and the fact that the match sucked, the finish sucked, is just a huge disappointment, and I don't think Travis Scott should have been out there at all if The Rock wasn't going to be. And the fact that that's going to be etched into WrestleMania main event history is really disturbing for me as a fan. Don't get me wrong. I got nothing against like Travis Scott personally, really. You know, having celebrities involved in big angles is not something new to WWE, but his involvement was so unbelievably fucking pointless. You know, if he was there with The Rock, that's one thing. But coming out on his own was really head-scratching and kind of stupid. He finishes up his comments on Pat McAfee with this, quote, "Ultimately, the bottom line is I love John getting 17. I never had a concern about John pulling this off. My thoughts were always to Cody and what we've established with him and his story and the kind of babyface that he is. If done right, finessed right, and nuanced right, down the road, that guy not only has an incredible run again as a babyface champion, but also an unheard of run as a heel down the road." And he also talked about the finish of WrestleMania, how he looked at it and he said he would have finessed it, done a couple of things differently. Is that what you want to say here? Like, what kind of damage control are we doing here? Are you trying to damage control The Rock or the WWE? Because it sounds like he's trying to damage control himself. And what's the most infuriating about The Rock is that I'm starting to notice with him that he's got Hulk Hogan levels of delusion. When this guy gets to be 60 years old, 70 years old, which ain't far away, old man, I think the shit that's going to come out of his mouth is going to be fucking stone cold crazy, because he's already all up his own ass. The way he talks, he speaks as if he's some sort of creative genius. You know, we all talked about, does Cody have a say in this? You know, they're all talking about Cody. We have this idea for Cody. What does Cody think? You know, because so far The Rock has looked nothing but stupid. And I'm not a huge fan of Triple H either. I'm very glad he's there and not Vince McMahon. But then again, I'd rather have an orangutan book in WWE than Vince McMahon. So it's better. But Triple H, you know, I think he's a better choice than The Rock, but he is still having his struggles as well. And I've said that about Triple H when he was making those comments this week. I'm like, what is with this guy? You know, he's the most powerful man pretty much in pro wrestling, at least on the creative side of things. And the fact that he can get so easily upset and offended, you know, it blows my mind that Triple H, Nick Khan, John Cena, and The Rock can all say the crazy, stupid shit that they've said over the past 8 days. And you've still got people on Twitter with accounts dedicated to hating Tony Khan because he hugs his wrestlers. This is the goddamn Twilight Zone, I'm telling you. And with The Rock's comments here, it was just so much nothing. Like whenever The Rock speaks, remember when he was, when he went to NXT a few months back, was that last year or was that in January? I forgot when that was, but he went out there and he just rambled. Like, what the hell is he saying? And he does the same thing in WWE rings. A lot of the appearances he's made prior to him being involved creatively starting last year were just appearances. He comes out and rambles, says a stupid little nursery rhymes, talks about popcorn farts, and then leaves. And so what does he even give at this point? And in terms of him not being involved at WrestleMania, that's not what bothers any of us. Because it was our friend Ibu from Wrestle Purists that said back in December that Rock wasn't going to be at WrestleMania due to Moana reshoots in Hawaii. Well, where was The Rock during WrestleMania weekend? In Hawaii. So that was probably accurate. And with The Rock also making mention to other commitments that he's got in the future, and they don't want to lean their skis too far forward and all that nonsense that he was just you know, out of his mouth. Well, which is it? You know, your commitment should be WWE. You're sitting on the fucking board of TKO. That's your commitment. WrestleMania should be your top commitment. And it feels like with The Rock, WWE is like his 17th top commitment, his 17th most important priority. I would love nothing more than for The Rock to be a huge part of pro wrestling. because he was an icon. He was a legend. He cracked me up. I got a chance to meet him, see him wrestle in person. He fell in my lap one time, injured my elbow. Rock is great. I love what The Rock has given to pro wrestling, and I really wish he would be a big part of it. But the problem is he's a movie star. He's got a million other commitments, and he's also very much up his own ass to where he thinks that anything, any storyline that he concocts in his fucking noodle is genius. It isn't. And this thing about Cody turning heel would have been dumb. Him and Roman Reigns last year main eventing WrestleMania 40 would have been dumb. And I think that Rock, I don't want him really involved very much because it seems like he goofs shit up. You know, last year, I really felt like they landed on their feet. WrestleMania 40 was a lot of fun. And watching Cody have that moment was a lot of fun. And I enjoyed The Rock's involvement in that. Night 1, night 2, the entire build, the beatdown of Cody in front of his bus. That's the Rock I want. That's the final boss I want. But it took him a while to get there. If it was up to The Rock, he was just going to go into WrestleMania 40 and wrestle his cousin and win the belt. You know, so now he's not involved. That's even weirder than what went on last year. And it causes even more confusion and controversy and really negatively affects your main event. Because if The Rock just wouldn't have been involved in any of this, then there would have been no reason to be disappointed. They did this to themselves. They made the fans think something and then didn't deliver. And it's not like, well, we never said it. Helen Keller could have figured this out. When The Rock was there at Elimination Chamber, anybody is going to just assume that he's going to be there at WrestleMania as well. So when he wasn't, and the fans are justifiably confused, angry, and upset about this, don't go into defensive mode and act like we're the crazy ones, like we need just to shut up and watch the show. We have a legitimate gripe. We have every reason to be perturbed by this. And WWE needs to expect an assload of backlash from this too, as they've seen all week. Now, luckily for them, they delivered an excellent Raw after Mania on Monday. That might have saved them, because that was a really fun show. It was good to get some surprises, some returns, some title changes, some heel turns. We got everything. But if that show on Monday would have shit the bed, I think you'd have a lot of very, very upset wrestling fans right now. So The Rock, I don't think helped matters at all with his appearance on the Pat McAfee show. All he did was make that whole situation look even dumber. And of course, a lot of people have been very vocal about that. People have been vocal on social media, and people like me, podcasters, YouTubers, are releasing videos, yelling. I got people DMing me their videos, yelling and screaming. I'm like, I'm not going to be the yelling and screaming guy. I'm just going to say, I'm going to read what The Rock said, listen to what he says, and laugh at how fucking stupid it is, because that's what it is. And when it comes to screaming people, one of the guys that does a lot of screaming, he's pretty good at that, Dave LaGreca, yells all the time. I'm passionate. No, you're not. You just like to scream because that gets you clicks. And The Rock responded to him. And it's like, I don't know whose side to take on this, because I really don't like either one of those guys. But in this case, LaGreca's got a point. Anybody that wanted to get a little bit extra angry or yell a little bit about this whole situation, if there's ever a time that warrants it, this would be it. So if there's any podcasters out there raising their voice a little bit, shit, I get it. I'm raising mine right now. But LaGreca always yells. So he was screaming. I didn't even hear what Dave said on his podcast, but he's yelling and screaming, of course. And The Rock responded to him. And here's what he said. The Rock says, "Hi, Dave. The business is a complete work. Always has been. Always will be. Every aspect of it. Every match, every interview. Including the Pat McAfee interview. Please join me, Cody, Cena, Brian, and the rest of us for our creative discussions so you can expand your perspective. Until then, stop ranting. It's not healthy, my friend. Enjoy the show. P.S. Tell Bubba I have Grand Marnier and hush puppies for all of us." So The Rock literally went on Pat McAfee to criticize the finish of the WrestleMania main event and then yelled at somebody else for being critical. It's a mind-blowing double standard that I think is only achievable by the industry's most delusional people. And I'm no Dave LaGreca fan. I'm not a fan of any podcaster that's red-faced, vein-bulging, screaming on their shows. Fuck that. Not my energy. But shit. You know, like, they've got everybody who's been yelling and complaining about this is right. We are all right. It's one of the few times that all of the fans are, well, most of the fans, not all of the fans are on the same page. You know, whether if you hate AEW or love AEW or love WWE or hate WWE, wherever you lie in this moron war that exists out there in that cesspool of hell, wherever you stand in that, I can't imagine any fan with a working, functioning brain believes that everything that happened at the WrestleMania 41 main event made perfect sense, and that's the way it should have gone. Travis Scott had no business out there. And like I said, for the 100th time, I don't care that The Rock was not involved in WrestleMania. If it was up to me, I would prefer The Rock not be around anymore at all, because all he does is bring controversy. All he does is gum up the works. Whenever he comes in, everybody knows that even though Triple H is in charge, we got to find out what Dwayne wants, and we got to sit through his stupid creative pitches. I would rather have people have a lot of influence on where these stories go who are there all the time writing and working with these people. You come in and out whenever you want, and then you're going to act like you should dictate the way storylines should go. And part of this is the fault of TKO. Now you got Ari Emanuel, who might not understand wrestling that well, and say, hey, Rock, why don't you come into Elimination Chamber so we can boost these ticket sales? It's just as much Ari's fault as it is Rock's. Why don't you come in? But Ari, if you do that, and The Rock's a part of this, fans are going to expect him at WrestleMania, so you need to plan for that too. Hey, Rock, if we're running this angle, we're going to need you for Mania. And then The Rock can say right there, I got Moana reshoots. I can't do it. Well, then we need to change how we do this at Elimination Chamber. You need to come out in the beginning of the show and do something fun for the fans and talk about popcorn farts and leave. And then we can have Cena turn heel on his own later on. Then everything would have been fine. Because even in the main event, I think fans would have talked about how underwhelming, the match between the ropes was. But if you just had Cena cheating and doing some underhanded shit to win, and you left Travis Scott out of it, and The Rock and Travis Scott were never involved in anything at Elimination Chamber, I definitely believe the main event of WrestleMania 41 would be looked at a lot more positively by wrestling fans, because what we took away from that is John Cena, as a heel, won his 17th title, and now the story of the year is for John Cena to burn through these dates while keeping the belt. I like all of that, and that can still be good. WWE can still move on with this in probably a pretty entertaining and intriguing way throughout the rest of the year. But Rock being involved was completely unnecessary, and Ari Emanuel and Nick Khan need to understand you can't just bring him in to boost ticket sales on a show that's that close to WrestleMania, or if you're going to bring him in to do anything like that, don't tease the fans that something's going to happen, and then The Rock just decides, I don't want to do this because you guys weren't on the same page with me creatively, so I'm just not going to show up. If I don't get what I want, I don't want to be involved at all. That sounds like the demeanor of The Rock. And I find that insane. If it was up to me, I want The Rock all in or not at all. And I really, as a fan, don't need him. I didn't need him at WrestleMania 40. I didn't need him at WrestleMania 41. But he was at WrestleMania 40, and that turned out to be tremendous. And they made all of the fans, including myself, assume that he's going to be at 41. And then he didn't. He let the moment go to John Cena and Cody. I'm fine with that. But you shouldn't have ran the damn angle at Elimination Chamber. So none of The Rock's explanation here made any sense at all. And every single fan, every single media personality has done nothing but negatively criticize The Rock's appearance on Pat McAfee. He did not look good. He just looked like a rambling nut who takes 6 paragraphs to really say something that should only take 2 sentences. And it was just a lot of nonsense. And I wanted to come up and give you guys some thoughts on it. So there you go. I'm not sure if I really offered anything other than fuck you, Rock. But, I've been getting so many messages. Are you going to talk about the Rock stuff? And at first I was like, well, I'll just talk about it on Saturday on the podcast. By the way, we still will do a podcast tomorrow. But then I thought about it more and I'm like, no, let's put up a mic drop on this one because it's been a wild week. It was a very weird week leading up to WrestleMania, very strange WrestleMania and ending to WrestleMania. And then they followed it up with a great episode of Monday Night Raw on Monday. And then The Rock makes his appearance on Pat McAfee on Tuesday and screws everything up again and gets the whole world talking about how disappointed we were about WrestleMania instead of just trying to put that behind you and move forward. So Dwayne, I'm a big fan of you. I love The Rock. I've experienced your entire career, but I got to say that you are starting to become unnecessary to me as a wrestling fan. I'd rather have you not around at all than be around in the form that you currently are. I'm now pretty nervous about WrestleMania 42 because if we learned one thing from this year's WrestleMania is that WWE does not have all of these creative plans planned out months in advance. Remember when The Rock says he's 20 steps ahead? The fuck you are. You're not 20 inches ahead. You're nothing. When The Rock came out at Bad Blood and did this, everybody thought it was going to mean something very major, and there's all these big changes coming to WWE. It's going to be a great 2025. No, he just came out there to just do something vague and leave. He's got no commitment to WWE, and if he did, we would have seen something culminate at WrestleMania. We would get an answer to what that meant at Bad Blood. We would get an answer to why Cena sold his soul at Elimination Chamber. All of that storyline-wise, theoretically, should come together in the WrestleMania main event. And it sounds like they didn't even know what they were going to do. We sat here and praised the hell out of that John Cena heel turn at Elimination Chamber. Man, they must have had this planned since Cena made his retirement speech in July when he came back the year before, like at Money in the Bank, and said, hey, I'm retiring next year. Oh, great. They have 6 months to come up with a plan. And so then when they executed the heel turn, I'm like, shit, is this what they had planned all along? That's awesome. I'm so glad that WWE's got long-term plans in place. They don't. They don't have shit in place. They are flying by the seat of their pants like they always have, and I don't think they will ever get out from underneath that. They might have periods where they're a little bit more cohesive, for a few months at a time, but ultimately they're going to fall right back into let's just do this. And it sounds like when The Rock was shot down on the Cody heel turn, no, Dwayne, it's not time yet. What about Cena? He just wanted somebody to turn heel. And the fact that Cena was so game to it and so on board with it right away is kind of telling there, because Cena's out the door. My dad asked me, texted me, he's like, do you really think Cena is going to retire? And I'm like, well, there's no such thing as retirements in wrestling, but I feel pretty confident that Cena's going to attempt to stick to his word here. And I think he is, because he's got so much else going on. And I think John Cena is basically like, I'll do whatever you guys want. I'm done. I'm done in a few months. So Cena's much easier to deal with, much more cooperative. And it sounds like he largely didn't give a shit. Yeah, sure, turn me heel, whatever. I might be a little bit more protective of my legacy and saying, okay, well, if I turn me heel, how's this all going to end? I'm about to retire. I might be a little bit more concerned with that, unless John just feels like everything's going to wrap up nicely and he's not too worried about it, or deep down, he really doesn't give a shit. I just hope that John Cena's run and his retirement and him dropping the title when all of this ends in a satisfying way for the fans. Same with WrestleMania 42. I really hope next year we don't have these problems again, because by the time we get to next year, Cody might be champion again, and we are going to be talking about a heel turn, him selling his soul. The Rock might turn back up in late January, try to pitch another idea of Cody selling his soul or doing something, and if WWE doesn't like what he says, he's going to take his ball and go home again, or he's going to take his Muhammad Ali belt and go home again. So, as infuriating as The Rock's appearance was on Pat McAfee, as confusing and disappointing and underwhelming as the main event of WrestleMania 41 was, I am really happy that it sounds like The Rock can get outvoted. The fact that he's a board member and he's all your bosses, no, he's not. He doesn't pull all the strings. He doesn't have all the power. He doesn't have all the pull. He can't just walk in and say, this is what we're doing. No. And that makes me really happy that he doesn't have that power. But I'm equally nervous about the people at the top, Nick Khan, who thinks it's okay to call WWE underdogs and throw incorrect, objectively wrong shade at your competition, and Triple H complaining that fans actually care. Triple H was essentially complaining that we care, that we want to see a good, cohesive product that's intriguing and entertaining and interesting. And he's offended when fans say WWE didn't give us that. It's almost as if he knew. It's almost as if Triple H, in his mind, knew The Rock being The Rock and not showing up here at WrestleMania is going to cause some fan backlash. And it seemed like he was already starting to tell the fans to shut up before the finish even happened. It's like he knew. So it makes me a little nervous for future WrestleManias, that it's just all going to be about the attendance and the inflated prices and just trying to get the highest grossing event in WWE history or whatever. And they don't really, really deeply care about what's going on the creative side of things. It's just about the spectacle and how much money they can draw in, and the fans' happiness or satisfaction is secondary to them. And that makes me nervous for future WrestleManias and future SummerSlams, which now we're going to have to go through 2-night SummerSlams and sit through that. Those are going to be a struggle, but this made them look bad. All of it. Made The Rock look bad, Triple H look bad, Nick Khan look bad, Cena look bad, Cody look bad, all of it. Next year, we'll see if The Rock comes back and tries to pitch this Cody soul-selling thing again, but I think a lot of fans are going to be looking for that as a possibility, so you don't want to do anything too predictable. And I know that's another, 10 months off until we have to start talking about this again, but, you do have to start wondering, what that's going to mean for future WrestleManias when The Rock has got the influence that he has. But hey, at least it wasn't full influence where they just submit to whatever he wants. At least they said, no, we're not doing that. And then it can be The Rock's decision to get butthurt about that and then go on Damage Control and passive aggressively kind of throw your cohorts under the bus, which is what he did on Pat McAfee. So Rock, kind of disappointed in you. Don't really consider you one of my favorite people right now, but I still appreciate you, still appreciate your career, what you gave to me as a fan, but what you give to me now at age 47 in 2025, I honestly don't need you at all. So Rock, as a fan, I think I can speak for all of us, either be all in or just don't be here at all, because the way this is going ain't working. I'll talk to you guys tomorrow for the podcast. Have a good Friday night. See you soon. Peace.